What holds people back from healing? Is it that we continue to keep seeing ourselves as victims instead of taking responsibility for our well-being? And why is gratitude so important for our body temple? Today we are going to talk with Reverend Michael Beckwith about why it is important that we need to grow up and show up if we wish to heal and evolve. 33 years ago, Reverend Michael created a community in his living room that has grown to 9,000 members and over 1 million people worldwide. Take a look at the power of agape.
You're at the center of divine joy. You're at the center of divine beauty. Cosmic intelligence. Transforming knowledge. Divine well-being. Hey now, I'm at the center of life. I love life, and life loves me.
I mean, I can feel it even as I'm speaking about agape. I love the community because it's all about love, loving beyond what's comfortable. I think that's been one of the greatest gifts agape has given me.
The healing for me came as my commitment deepened. You know, my practice deepened. I was at agape all the time. You know, from that day on, I was, in classes or help with fundraising and whatever I could do to be a part of our blessed community.
One of Reverend Michael's sayings that I love is, give to live until you live to give.
I love God. God loves me. I love joy. Joy loves me. I love health. Health loves me. I love the all good. The all good loves me. Oh, I love to love. I love to love. And I love life. Take the holy breath.
I love you.
Wow.
Oh, Reverend Michael, you have been an amazing piece of my life as well, and I can't wait to get into this conversation with you and dig in. But first, we want to start with where this all began for you.
Right.
You had an awakening in college.
I did. I've had several, but my first awakening as an adult was in my last year at USC. I was a psychobiology major, and I was on track to go to med school. And I began to have a series of inner experiences. And at that time, I labeled the experiences pathological because you don't want to tell your teachers that you're hearing voices or having visions or leaving your body. And I didn't know what any of that was. I hadn't studied any of that material. And ultimately, it culminated with these men chasing me in a lucid dream. This went on for a long period of time. And then one night, they were very close. I could even make out the features on their face. And I decided not to run anymore. I looked around, and there was a small tent behind me with thousands of people trying to fit into this tent. And I knew every single person in line. And I said to myself, they can't hurt me. I have all of my friends with me. And then one by one, they all turned their back on me. 2 men grabbed me. One man took a knife and plunged it into my heart. And the pain was excruciating, physically and emotionally. I screamed out and I died. And when I woke up, I could see I was surrounded by this tremendous beauty that was indescribable. The love that was penetrating my being was beyond anything I'd ever experienced in life. And so my name for the presence of God was love beauty. There's the beauty everywhere, the lint on the rug glowing with the luminosity of the presence. Everything shining, and I just felt penetrated by love every cell of my being. And I knew things had changed for me. And the box I was living in at that time, I never could get back in it again. Mm-hmm. And I remember calling up a woman who was a friend of my family's who was a spiritual counselor. And I thought what she was doing was sweet, but I didn't have that much interest in it. And I called her up and I said, I know everything you're talking about. Mm. And she said, really, baby? I said, yeah. I said, we're living in it. It's living in us. It's everywhere. And I began my sojourn to discover what had happened to me, and then over years integrating into that expanded awareness. It was very powerful.
I know, it is a life-changing reality when we wake up from the reality we were living in into a greater picture. And healing happens on every level in our lives under those conditions.
You know, one of the things that I was aware of is that when that happened, it's like worry disappeared. It was like I was looking at humanity, and everybody was worried about something and afraid of this and afraid of death and afraid of loss. And it was like, we don't have anything to worry about.
Nothing left.
Everything just fell off.
Yeah, you've mentioned in describing that fear died.
Yeah, fear.
That night.
Yeah.
And can you say more about that?
It was like people live in a kind of anxiousness or anxiety about the future.
Yeah.
Like what's going to happen? What's going to happen if I lose my job? What's going to happen if this happens? Or and they create all kind of mental scenarios that they experience even if it doesn't happen, because it's in their thinking.
Right.
And everything just completely stopped. And the fear dissolved, the worry dissolved. And there was a period of time where I didn't have any friends because everybody thought that I was really weird. So I lost all my friends at that time. And everybody thought I just freaked out, But I was just so present and so alive that eventually the people that came into my life were more into the frequency of who I was at that moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then someone from your past sought you out. A woman from high school found you for counseling.
Oh my God!
Wanted you
yes,
to speak,
yes.
To speak with her.
You know what happened? I was sitting in my living room, and I was wanting to know what I wanted to do with my life. And the phone rang, and she called me, and she said, "I found your phone number in the high school annual, and I was guided to call you. I've been having all these particular issues, and I was told that you could help me." So I began to do spiritual counseling on the phone with this woman. Yeah. And this went on for a period of time. I helped her through a lot of things. And then one day I was at a restaurant. I saw her in line. Now keep in mind, I hadn't seen this woman since high school. And we never saw each other. This was all done on the phone. So one day I saw her in line. I said, "Oh, there she is." And so I called out her name, and she looked at me, and she left the restaurant. She was so embarrassed because she had given up what she thought were like dark secrets and things she was working through. And it was good for her when I was like this person on the other end.
Way over there.
Praying for her and giving her guidance.
Right.
When she actually saw me.
Makes it real.
She never called me again. And then I thought to myself, I didn't even have this phone number in high school. And at that time, my phone was unlisted. So I don't know how she got the number.
This is a cosmic phone call.
It was a cosmic phone call, and it put me on the trajectory of what I was to do in my life.
Yeah, started to align you. And then that parlayed into agape.
Yeah, it parlayed. I started seeing people one-on-one, and then I got a spiritual counseling license later on. I was seeing people, 6 to 8 people every single day for years. And I would see miracles and all kinds of manifestation and people's lives changing. And then that parlayed into me going to the school of higher consciousness to get a degree. And interestingly enough, so I wasn't going there to start a community. I was going there because I liked being in the frequency of people who had something to offer in terms of a higher conversation. So I'm going through class. It took me 5 years to go through a 3-year program because I had no interest in graduating. I just like meeting certain teachers. If they had something, I would take that class. If they had a new way of languaging some of my insights. And then one day the assistant dean said to me, "Michael, when are you going to graduate?" I said, "I'm not trying to graduate."
Graduate?
She said,
"This is about graduating."
She said, you are aware that when you graduate as an alumni, all classes are free? I said, "Really?"
I'll graduate next month.
So I took a full load and got out of there. And then there was this intense pressure from inside to start a community. And I resisted that for a long time because I was in another spiritual community. I was running the youth program. I was doing spiritual counseling. I was doing classes, workshops. I had a pretty full life already. And I didn't want to take on starting something. But eventually my resistance was worn down.
So, right, eventually it just has to unfold, our
just-
destiny. So I'm here at the Healing Matrix, all about pulling together all the ways that people heal. What is it that happens that allows for healing to happen in an individual's life, in their body, in every aspect of them, every dimension of their being? What is it that people are seeking when they come to Agape, when they're seeking a spiritual avenue toward healing? What kind of healing are they seeking? What's behind that?
You know, there's so much and so many levels, but ultimately an individual is seeking to connect with themselves. They have gotten, as I say, they've gotten aligned with the content flowing through their consciousness, and they think that content is who they are, their experiences, their interpretation of past experiences, and that content has produced experience in their life. Coagulation, stagnation, ill health, stagnation around success. And so they're seeking to have an awareness, an awakening as to who they are. Their real identity, not the son or daughter of a parent, you know, not where they were born, not the school they went to, but actual awareness, a growing awareness as to who they really are as a nominal being, a spiritual being, a timeless being. And that's big. So many of them don't know that consciously that's what they're seeking.
Yeah.
They think they want a better employment or a better relationship, but
Yeah.
you know, they want the stuff,
Right.
which is nothing wrong with that at all. But ultimately, they want to know themselves.
They really want to know who they are.
Yes, right.
Who am I?
Right.
What am I? And you and I both know that that is at the root of all healing. When that answer starts to come forth and we start to land and connect with that, healing starts to unfold. It can't not.
It's a natural
because we
byproduct.
are that.
Yeah, because healing is actually a revelation. It's actually the revealing of our intrinsic wholeness.
Yes.
That we can't add anything to ourselves at all. There's already a perfection that's unfolding.
Yes.
And so what we're doing is wiping away the dust.
Yeah.
We're getting away the grit, the perceptions, the limited point of view, so people can see. People suffer from a spiritual astigmatism. They can't see reality. They can't see themselves, and they only experience their thoughts about reality. Most people don't experience reality at all.
Right.
Only their thoughts about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as you said, once we know who we are, then the natural thing that happens is there's a revelation of wholeness in areas of our life. We become like a child again.
Yeah.
The innocence is there. It doesn't have a shelf life. It doesn't have an expiration date.
Yes,
You know.
exactly.
Yeah.
More on that.
Yeah.
So we want to share a story about how Reverend Michael's teaching helped a Gaia member through her darkest times. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Julie, and I'm not only a member of Gaia, but I'm also a staff member here at Gaia. I want to share with you how Reverend Michael Beckwith and his church Agape literally saved my life. It all started about 16 years ago when my sister gave birth to her first son. She ended up with cervical cancer, and she died 4 days after he turned 2. It was traumatic. It was just as you would expect it to be, surreal. Just when I thought I could get through that, my father died 6 months later. I couldn't believe what was happening. My sister had just died, just lost my sister, had this baby that I'm trying to figure out how to help raise with his father, and now my own father's dead. 6 months after my dad died, my mom died. I remember talking to her saying, "Can't die on me, Mom. We just went through 2 funerals back to back," and she said, "Oh, I'm not gonna die." Next thing you know, she's on life support. And I was literally faced with taking her off life support while she was awake. 3 deaths back to back. I barely had time to breathe before someone else was dying. And I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand how all of this could be going on. And I didn't know what was going on with me. I was really lost. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And so I went to Reverend Beckwith's a service on a Wednesday night. And I just remember being flooded with love. What he was preaching about was about gratitude. And I could find nothing to be grateful for. But I remember the way he gave his sermon. He said, if you can just find one thing, because when you're in a state of gratitude, you're in a state of love. and I just kept listening to what he was saying about how to heal your heart and how you have to find it within yourself. I just kept going, and he would have amazing speakers. And I would go to his Quiet Mind bookstore, and the bookstore was filled with books about healing yourself and healing your soul and healing your heart, from Neil Donald Walsh to obviously Reverend Beckwith himself to many, many other authors. One of my favorite books that I got was called The Answer Is You. And I remember just underlining and circling and underlining and circling and going back and hearing his voice in my head. You have to heal yourself. And so through that process, one Sunday he was coming out into the congregation to talk to people about their stories, and I remember raising my hand. And he came to me, and I just was crying, saying, "You saved me. You got me through this." And then I got to a place where I knew if I hadn't gone through all that death, I would never be to the resolution where I am now. So, Reverend Beckwith, thank you. Thank you for healing my heart. Thank you for teaching me how to heal myself. And thank you for giving me a new life.
Wow.
Countless times. What a beautiful thing. And now she's on a team of people that are bringing healing conversations to people around the world.
All around the world.
Because she found this part of herself that we're speaking about.
Right.
You spoke about gratitude in the video, about just find this one thing. It doesn't matter what it is. You just have to find something to be grateful for. Can you just share with our viewers a little bit about the power of gratitude, or what role that's playing?
Absolutely. There's gratitude expands our perception. It's like if we're focused and worried about something in our life, then all of our attention is going towards a possible worst case scenario. And we experience that biologically, chemically. So if we shift our attention and go to one little, it doesn't have to be monumental, one thing to be grateful for, our perception begins to expand. So it begins with finding one thing. And then something begins to happen, and you're able to take your attention away from the thing, and you're in a field of gratitude. It doesn't have to be about anything. You're just in this field. That's a higher state of consciousness. Yeah. And then when you're in this field, I don't know if people have ever experienced this, but I know that my mother would sometimes say, not to me, but to my brothers, if you don't stop crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Well, the law works like this. If you don't stop being grateful, then the law will vibrationally match and give you more and more to be grateful for.
Give you something to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the beginning, you find something to be grateful for, and then you grow into just being in gratitude. Yeah. It doesn't have to have an object at all. Yeah. It's a very mature state of gratitude. You wake up, you become grateful. You go through traffic, grateful you got a car. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in line, you're grateful you're in the supermarket line, you can buy some food, whatever it is. Yeah. Then after a while, you're just in a state.
You use it as a cue to direct you into this place of gratitude.
Right.
You know, quantum science is showing us that it's a vibrational field, and this, when it comes to healing, is so paramount, because we have to realize that there's a vibrational radio station that we can dial into where healing happens, and a different radio station that we can dial into where healing does not happen.
Right.
And people don't realize that it starts with us. It starts with, where am I dialing my frequency into, and does healing get to happen on that bandwidth, or does it not?
Absolutely. And that becomes a part of our practice.
Yeah.
You actually have a practice where you practice gratitude, you practice thanksgiving, you practice appreciation until it becomes your way, you know, and then sometimes when you're down, that's when you practice it even more. And then when you're expanding, I like to say, you ask the question, how can it get better than this? And you ask that question. If you're on a downward spiral, you're on that frequency of discomfort, disease, not enoughness, you say, how can it get better than this? And then your mind will start to be flooded with how it can get better. Yes. And then when you're rising and you're having a really great day, you ask the same question, how can it get better than this? Because we're dealing with something that's infinite.
Yes.
So wherever you are, you're barely scratching the surface of the next moment that wants to emerge through you, the next gift, the next power, the next revelation. Mm-hmm. So you stay in that frequency until you're living on an arc of expanded awareness.
Yes, and what can you just speak to us about victim consciousness? Conversely, to what we're speaking about, this consciousness of gratitude and being in this expansiveness. But what happens when someone is locked in to I just can't get out of it. I just can't break through that barrier and on a regular basis find this feeling of gratitude.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I would say that many people live in victim consciousness. They have a belief that something outside of themselves determines their destiny, determines their happiness, their peace of mind, their prosperity. And victims have a victim story. If you ask them why aren't they happy, they know they can articulate to a T what happened, when it happened, who did it to them. And they know the story so well that becomes the lens that they look at life through. So they're a victim. So the idea is to become aware of your victim conversation, your victim statements, and begin to move into the vibration of giving up blame. You have to give up blame in order to take the next step. Forgiveness can actually be summed up into, I give up blame. And then you begin to ask other kind of empowering questions. How can I grow from this? What lesson do I need to learn from this? What lesson is the universe giving me right now? Because the universe is progressive, doesn't go backwards, it's constantly expanding. You begin to ask a different set of questions. The victim questions are, what's wrong, who's to blame, and why me? That's where they live.
Yeah, it's all out there.
So,
just push it out there.
But when you ask a different kind of question, what lesson am I learning? What gift is being honed in me? You start to get answers, because the universe will answer any question you ask. And it'll start to move you out of victimhood. It's going to move you through forgiveness too. It's going to move you out of victimhood, and you'll start to take 100% responsibility for your own healing.
And people are afraid to take that responsibility because they feel so lousy. The last thing they want to think is, I'm responsible for how lousy I feel.
But responsibility and blame are not the same thing.
Yeah.
People, they make them synonymous.
Yes.
I take responsibility, that means it's my fault. No, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
We're saying responsibility means the ability to respond.
Yeah.
So when you take responsibility, you begin to respond to a higher frequency.
Yeah.
Blame is something else. Blame and shame and guilt, they have no transformational value. They keep you locked into an old paradigm. The egoic structure will keep you your old self. But when you ask a higher question, you take responsibility. I take responsibility for the thought that's happening right now. What is it going to be? Is it going to be a victim thought? Or is it going to be an empowering thought? I'm taking responsibility for that. No one's going to make me think a certain way. I don't care what happened in my past. This present moment right now, I'm taking responsibility for my thinking, my perception, what comes out of my mouth, my conversations, my actions. I'm taking 100% responsibility. So then what happens is inertia then becomes momentum. You start to move in the direction of your higher conversation, and your life changes because you've taken responsibility, not blame.
Yeah. So another thing that I've seen with people is that if they're stuck in shame or guilt or those kinds of lower vibrational frequencies, that if they'll just embrace it, just be present with it, just love into that.
Yes, absolutely.
Then you're taking this responsibility to that level where you are, and it starts things in motion. That I don't have to be afraid of a feeling that I'm feeling. If I just feel it, then it's gone. Then it's done.
Absolutely.
Right? Then we don't have
plus
to
you're being
outrun
present
it.
with it.
Yes.
You're not, when we do exactly what you just described, you come out of wishful thinking. I wish this hadn't happened. I wish I wasn't here. I wish I hadn't done whatever I did to bring this into manifestation. Wishful thinking goes out the window, and you just embrace what is.
Yeah.
And in that moment of embracing, something happens. You see that you're actually spiritually bigger than the thing that's going on.
Yes.
Actually, it's in your field, but it's not you.
Yeah.
And then it begins to dissipate because of your awareness that you're bigger than it. You've totally embraced it. You're not resisting it. You're not fighting it. You're not saying go away. So here it is.
Right.
And it gets to dissolve.
If I can hold space for it, then I'm bigger than it. I'm holding space for it. It doesn't have a hold of me.
Right.
I can embrace it. And that changes everything. It starts this path that we're describing.
Everything.
You speak about this path with 4 stages of the development of consciousness. Can you just share with our viewers about that structure so they can kind of see that?
The first one we just described is victim. You know, they did it to me. It's somebody else's fault. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't do anything to you. Doesn't mean that bad things didn't happen. We're not discounting that. We're just saying we're not living in that frequency. We're aware that that happened, but we can now move out of that through the power of forgiveness, through the power of giving up blame, and through the power of taking responsibility for our own life. Then we move into stage 2. Stage 2 is the manifester stage. I'll give it to you like this first. The first stage is to us, something is happening to us. The second stage is by us. We're doing something. The third stage is through us. Energy is moving through us. The fourth stage is as us. We are the energy. We are the presence. So in stage 2, you're using your mind power. You're using the art of visualization, the creative use of your imagination. You're re-enchanting the imagination to best case scenarios. You're changing your conversation. You're learning about declarations, affirmations, writing, how you want to live your life. You're basically recontextualizing your mind. The mind is a set of law, a set of way we've been inputted. You're changing all of that. We're doing this. Then something happens, and we start to realize that there's an order in the universe that we didn't create. We didn't create that order. We depend on the order. So then we learn about releasing ourselves to its surrender, yielding, allowing. By us is masculine. Through us is feminine. By us is, I call the Nike stage, just do it. Make it happen. Stage 3 is make it welcome, because it's happening cosmically. So I start to release myself to it. I'm available, but it's come from the hard work I've done on stage 2. You don't transcend what you haven't mastered. So definitely we master stage 2. But we yield into stage 3. And then we begin to have pinprick awarenesses that this life, this presence, it's us. We're it. It's not just operating through us, but it's operating and expressing as us. I'm in it, it's in me. There's no separation. The wave is a function of the ocean.
Yes.
The sunbeam is an expression of the sun. No sun, no sunbeam. No ocean, no wave. No presence, no us.
Exactly.
So we start to have pinprick awarenesses around that. And some people are afraid of that. They think it's blasphemy. They think you can be at one with God or at one with the presence. No, it's blaspheme to limit it. You see, we don't want to limit it because it's omnipresent, because it's everywhere. It must be where I am.
Yeah.
And it must be who I am.
This is so powerful, and I think that even to repeat this idea that it's okay to engage this way, that it's not blasphemy, it's not that you're putting yourself bigger than the universe, or bigger than God for that matter. It's all about participating as part of and belonging to this great wave rather than operating as a separate self, where healing does not happen.
Right.
So can you relate how healing relates inside of your structure, just on a physical level, on an emotional level, mind, body, soul? What can you tie all that together for people?
Absolutely. I've seen, it's hard to even say I've been doing agape for 33 years. And then I was a counselor for 7 years before that. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So I've seen individuals have shift of character. I've seen individuals have healings of the physical body temple, where the prognosis was, this is not going to happen. I've seen individuals come back from tremendous setbacks financially, lose businesses. So I've seen it all across the board. When an individual discovers and participates in their own unfolding that they are one with life, and they have a spiritual self-love and a self-appreciation that's not born from accomplishment, but that's intrinsic to who we are as our spiritual nature, revelation occurs. People are guided and directed through their intuition, through their innate wisdom is activated, to do the right thing, to bring about what is necessary for their healing, which is the revelation of wholeness. There's no stone unturned. I remember a woman that was just graduating from my practitioner class. And I asked the class, what did you want the class to hold space for? And she said, I want to be moved up on the kidney transplant list. And I said, well, why don't we try to heal the kidneys that you have? And she said, no, the doctors have said this is a rare disease. They've never seen any healing in this area. I need to be moved up. And she was very resistant to me, to saying, can we just try it? No, 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 no. So all of a sudden I thought about this story that Alan Watts used to share about his wife. His wife was perpetually late. And so he would always lie about the time to get her to come early, but she was always late. So one day he's sitting at Central Park. He asked her to come to lunch, but he said, you have to be on time because I have to go to a meeting. She's late. His mind starts to go crazy. She doesn't respect me, doesn't respect my time. Then he says to himself, my wife respects me, she loves me. She just has a casual relationship to time. While I'm waiting, I'll meditate. So she gave him plenty of opportunity to meditate, okay? So that story came into my mind, so I said to her, her name was Donna, I said, Donna, while we're waiting for the kidney transplant, why don't we see what we can do? And she said, okay. So I gave her this book, and in the book it talked about the healing of kidneys and how metaphysically there's stagnation in your life, blah, 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 blah. So she had to read that every day.
Unresolvedness.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I said to the class, how many of you today got up and gave thanks that your kidneys worked and you could pee today? And nobody raised their hand. I said, this is your role. Every time you go to the restroom, you pray for Donna. We call it the praying while peeing, PP prayer. So 30 days later we meet, they're about to take their oral exams, and Donna can't wait to share. She said her kidneys spontaneously started working. And the doctors wanted to do a slight operation to see why. She refused. Now that was 10 years ago. She is still rolling.
She has her own kidneys.
She has her own kidneys. Everything is fine. But she changed her awareness about it. Mm-hmm. And she had a field of people that were holding space for her.
Yes.
Her kidney spontaneously healed. And I've seen that. You know what was funny about that? It's not funny. But about 4 weeks after that, this little boy walks up to me at Agape. He says, my mommy is going to the hospital. She has to have a kidney transplant. And I just said, she's going to be okay. I just waved my hand over. And her kidney started working. And she's at Agape, nothing. You know, so I've seen a lot of healings. But I think it was the combination of me and her little son who were just like, Dr. Beckwith can do anything.
That purity of innocence.
He was so innocent
100%.
and so pure.
You know, epigenetics is teaching us that the vibrational frequency that hits the surface of the cell is picked up by these little antennas.
That's right.
And then they relate information inside the cell, and that's what tells the cell what chemistries to produce or how to function.
Right.
And so when someone makes this declaration that says, hey, I am.
Right.
And I'm going to let this happen for me, or this is going to happen for you, Mom.
Right.
You know, because Reverend Beckwith said it would.
Right, and I got agreement from her.
Allows.
I mean, I got agreement from her too.
Yeah.
I made her look at. I said, "Can we agree with your son that you're going to be okay?"
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
So the mind field changes, and
Yes.
it changes the message that's coming to the surface of the cells, and the cells change the chemistry that they're producing, and the body heals.
There it is.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Right.
Now, you speak about the feedback loop, that this body temple is the perfect feedback loop. Can you share about that, the detail about what that means?
Absolutely. Instead of railing against the body temple, you basically use it as feedback. So if something is going wrong in your perspective, it actually is a message in there. And if you become still and you actually ask, what is it that you're telling me? And in sincerity, listen, not with your ears, but with consciousness. Listen with your entire being. You'll start to get wisdom and guidance as to where you're out of alignment in life. Could be in your conversation, could be in some habits that you have. You'll start to get feedback that particular dis-ease is giving you. You come back into alignment, and then the dis-ease becomes ease. You come back into harmony, back into homeostasis, back into wholeness. So the body is feedback. What is it saying to you across the board? You need some rest? You need nutrition? You need right exercise? You know, what is it? Is it something missing nutritionally? What is it? You'll get the feedback. And if you follow it, if you obey, then the body temple will come back in a very powerful way. I believe that the body can heal anything.
So
It's
do I.
genius.
So do I.
There's no disease
Yeah.
big enough if the person's in alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're allowing that flow to
Right.
flow, and if we're connecting with that, and when people don't know how to do that, they get a little afraid that they are going to be stuck on their medications. They're going to have to keep doing what they're doing because they don't know what to do instead.
Absolutely.
And so, can you speak to where would someone start? How do you begin to know that you're doing something that's going to lead to a healing environment for this body to have the true role in our life that it's really intended to have?
First of all, you have to realize that there are people called minor deities, MDs, that give you diagnosis and prognosis. You cannot allow them to give you a prognosis. They can give you a diagnosis. But the prognosis is between you and you and the presence. And so you have to formulate your own prognosis. You have to actually tell yourself, my body can heal anything, and I am the candidate for the revelation of wholeness. So you have to begin with yourself. Many people get caught up in the whole under the aegis of the medical model, and when a minor deity tells you something, particularly a prognosis, you believe it. And then, as you said, your cells hear that, they believe what you believe, and they start to produce the chemicals according to that belief. So you shift your own prognosis. You actually write out, I'm willing for my body temple to up-level to complete healing and wholeness every single day, getting better every day. You have to enter into it with that kind of vibration. And then you choose a partner that holds you accountable to that, doesn't let you go into your pity party, doesn't let you go into a downward spiral of conversation. That can be a spiritual counselor or a real good friend that trust. You begin to examine, your hydration, your nutrition, your exercise, your rest. You begin to examine that. Where's that offline?
Yeah.
But it always begins in the mind.
Yeah. You're a passionate man. And I have a lot of passion and fire about this exact same topic.
Yeah.
And I'm also very aware that we want our viewers to be able to plug into this stream of consciousness that we're
Yes.
speaking about. And so what can you say for someone who doesn't feel the passion, that they can write these goals out for themselves and write their new diagnosis, but they're not feeling it? What role does that play in the outcome that they're looking for?
Well,
Can
for
you
years,
guide someone
absolutely.
in that way?
For years, I've said, this feeling, the universe is a feeling universe. Feeling provides the context for healing in one's life. So I would say, take your attention and put it on something that brings about a good feeling for you. It doesn't have to be about your healing. It could be about someone you love. It could be a little kid in your life that when you think about this kid, you just feel so much joy, so much happiness. Or you think about someone that gave you a really good gift, not a re-gifting gift, but something that you really loved and appreciated, and you notice how you felt when you received it. Now, when you received that gift, your chemistry changed at that moment. You became grateful. You became thankful. Oh my, you became appreciative. You go back to that moment. I ask people to close their eyes, capture that moment, and then take some breaths and amplify it. Amplify that feeling until you're living in that feeling, regardless of whether you're thinking about that person or not. You have the feeling, it's amplified. Now go into your conversation. Now go into your affirmation. Now go into your writing. Even though the feeling has come from something else, it's still operating in your body temple. It's still changing the chemistry of your body. It's still opening up those blood vessels so that oxygen is flowing better, this greater coherence of the brain. Now you're in league with the harmony that you want to have in your body. So you can start off passionless, but you can actually build up the passion in your own life.
Yeah. What is the role of unforgiveness in that? How does that fit in?
That's a very important question. Where there is unforgiveness, there's stagnation, blockage, and there are thought forms and perceptions. And thoughts are units of mental energy. And they produce that same frequency over and over and over again. So it becomes stagnant, and then it creates perception, So you actually see life that way. And as you see life that way, you actually experience that life that way. You can be standing in the middle of great opportunity and won't even see it because the unforgiveness is blocking. The other thing unforgiveness does is create debt. Because if you are in resentment towards someone or have a level of unforgiveness, the message to the universe is, they stopped me from having something. They are preventing me from having something, or they owe me something. Now, in physical life, somebody might owe you something. We don't discount that. But if you're walking around with that stagnant thought that I can't be happy because they owe me something, then the universe says you have lack. In other words, you're sitting here in lack because that person owes you something. So that spins out as lack in your life. The law says, oh, you don't have something? Let me show you what that looks like.
Right.
You see?
It has no choice but to respond to what we're commanding.
It doesn't care whether you're a good person. You can be the best person in the world. Follow all the laws, pay your taxes, never run a stop sign. You can be a good person. You have a good personality. But inside, you believe someone owes you something, or you're lacking something because of that person, then that law operates on that, and you'll end up having debt or lack in your life based on unforgiveness. So to empower yourself, forgiveness is the way. Give forth a harmonious energy.
And can you define forgiveness for our viewers?
On one level, forgiveness is the releasing of toxins, resentment, animosity, grudges that are within us. All forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Even if you're trying to forgive someone else, they're not really out there. That's a figment of your imagination. You see, you're actually releasing the toxins that are within you that you are projecting onto that person. So when you release those toxic thoughts, those units of mental energy, you become free-flowing. And now life can start to express through you again. And what do? You're cutting the emotional cords that you have with that individual. You're saying in substance, what you did or did not do does not determine my destiny. I cut myself free from you. I wish you well, and I'm moving on.
You end up being able to be more present with them, love them, and have a better relationship because you actually cut through the thing that was keeping you from being free to be in the loving presence with them, in relationship.
Absolutely. Now, there are stages in forgiveness. First stage is willingness. You have to be willing to forgive. Most people, I'm going to take this resentment to my grave. No, that resentment is going to take you to your grave.
Take you to your grave. Sooner, probably.
Right. So one is willingness. Number two is actually the practice of forgiveness. That you actually cut the cord, let them know, don't have to be sitting there, in your own awareness that what they did or did not do cannot determine their destiny. I forgive you, I set you free. And then the third stage is actually being willing to see something from their perspective. It's just a willingness. It's like, I wonder how they saw this situation.
Very powerful.
And then you'll start to open up and you say, oh, maybe they didn't think they did such a bad thing, or maybe they thought they were justified, or whatever. But it's like, our Native American brothers and sisters say, walk a mile in another person's moccasins. You actually see something from another point of view. Then the next stage is wish them well, but for real. Not.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No, just really sit
Yes.
and hope that life works out for them in a very beautiful way. And then the next stage, which is difficult for people, is to actually do something for them anonymously. Send them $1 in the mail. Send them a love note.
It's something that opens you.
Opens you. You're releasing energy. So it's not just all in your head. So if you actually go through those stages of forgiveness, when you hear that person's name, you're not going to contract. You're actually going to say, I hope they're doing well. I really do.
So let's say that we have a viewer watching who has a diagnosis, or they're feeling disharmony in their life in some way. There's just a disconnect. How might you guide them to utilize that exact circumstance toward an awakening in their own life experience?
You kind of gave the answer in your question.
Okay.
And that is, we want to use this for awakening. So if someone is going through, they've received a diagnosis, instead of railing against it, first thing you do is you come to total acceptance that this is what's going on in my life right now. I have this diagnosis, whatever it is, from cataracts to cancer, you see. What is it telling me? where is it telling me to shift? Where is it telling me to change? And I'm receptive to that. This is not a one and done thing. This is a daily practice, okay? That's one thing. Then the next thing is to actually begin to come into a level of coherence around your self-worth, your value, and the gifts that you are to give the planet. And so you have to think about the moments in your life where you were absolutely loved for no reason. You didn't win an award. Somebody just got you. They just loved you. They just appreciated you. And what did that feel like to be totally loved? Now that unconditional love is infinitesimal to how much the presence loves you. That's, so you grow into that. So you're having an awareness that you're worthy, you're loved, you're appreciated. That becomes the chemical makeup for your trajectory towards healing. So you're asking, what does it mean? Now, what does it mean doesn't mean what's the cause of it. We don't want to go. The disease doesn't have a cause because it doesn't exist in the spiritual realm. It has a meaning. What does this mean? Where am I out of alignment? Where can I grow? And you combine that with generating a level of self-worth, value, and what I have to give. You combine those two things together, and there will be movement in your soul, and then movement in your body temple.
Beautiful. You speak about awakening.
Yeah.
For those that don't really understand exactly what that might mean for them, you speak about 3 kinds of awakening.
Yeah. You've done your research very well.
Can you? I love you. Can you share with our viewers?
Yeah, we can cover awakening a couple of ways. One is what you've just described, the 3 kinds of awakening. Most people are familiar. They go to bed at night, they sleep, they dream, they wake up. Everyone's familiar with that kind of awakening. The next level of awakening is when you leave your body and realize the body, you're alive independent of the body. That can come through lucid dreaming, astral traveling. People have near-death experiences. People have traumatic things happen and suddenly they're looking at the doctor operate on them, but they're not there. They're on the ceiling looking. That's a second stage of awakening where you actually realize your consciousness is independent of the physical body. Your consciousness uses the body for expression.
Yeah.
And the third state of awakening is when you actually have the awareness that you are one with God, one with life, one with the presence. That sense of separation has dissolved, and you realize the universe has said, tag, you're it. You're the presence. So those are 3 stages of awakening. Now, awakening occurs when we realize we are awareness itself. We don't just have awareness, we are awareness. And our body temple is in our awareness. This building is in our awareness. We are in each other's awareness. And I like to say that just as an analogy, you have the ocean, pure H2O. Then there's content in that ocean. There's things in the ocean. There's boats, there's pollution, there's all kinds of stuff. But that stuff that's in the ocean is not the ocean. That's stuff that's in the ocean. So the stuff that's in us is not us, it's just in us, it's in our awareness. Now every time we're able to have an insight, we realize that that content is not us, but we're watching it, that's awakening. The average person actually thinks that they are sad, or they actually think that experience that they had, that's who they are. No, that's content. That's not who you are. Who you are is the person looking at it.
Yeah.
And so through meditation, through different spiritual practices, you're able to little by little see, oh, that's content passing through. It's not who I am. And now you're waking up. Yeah.
What if someone is watching that is facing this idea of death in their life, their own life, in their family, a loved one? How do they translate that into the circuitry that they've been raised in, thinking that this is an imminent thing that is not good,
Right.
and I do not know how to deal with it?
Yeah.
What can we just offer our viewers? In that?
All the mystical teachings, whether you go through the Tibetan Book of the Dead, different mystical teachings of the teachings of the Christ, or whatever. If it's a path with heart, it ultimately bumps into the awareness that we have a temporary expression on earth, but we never die. That this life that we are, this awareness, this distinct unit of energy called us, doesn't suffer birth and it doesn't suffer death. It continues to unfold. Now, because of how we've been taught, and because we're so body conscious, that we actually think that this is who we are, that we become very, very frightened when it's time to cross that divide. What we want to begin to do, we want to begin to have seeped into the awareness of our culture, not just at the mystical level, but at the regular level. This is a pass-through. You know, we're coming to pass. You know, we're coming, and so during the time we have here, this parenthesis that we have, we want to share and give and love and bring out our gifts, because the only thing that people are going to be upset about is the unrealized potential, the gifts that they didn't give, the things that they didn't go for because they were afraid, the closing of their heart and not loving, not sharing. You want to be more frightened of that than the demise of a body temple. Because when you cross over and look back, and I've been on the other side many times, you cross back and look back, you're going to be very upset at yourself of the love you didn't share, the gifts you didn't give, the activation of potential. That's frightening to the soul. But the releasing of a body temple,
not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah.
And of course, we have tremendous compassion on ourselves and on people who lose loved ones. I mean, you're with somebody 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, sadness is there. We don't deny that. Don't deny the sadness. We embrace it. You know, we deny the fact that we're missing somebody. We embrace it. But as far as death itself, it doesn't have any power.
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, as the Native Americans tell us, there's a word for death, and one particular tribe that means not here, somewhere else. It's a literal translation.
Yeah, not here right now.
They're not here. They're somewhere else.
Because we don't die. We just leave into another another grand adventure.
Yeah.
And the key is for us to be able to wrap our minds around that whole picture so that we're not afraid of any aspect of the whole process of passing through.
Absolutely. You embrace your grieving, embrace the sadness, embrace the missing. Don't try to chemicalize it away or have a whole lot of compulsive behaviors. They're going to take you away from feeling that. In our culture, they do that a lot. You know, you have a regular sadness and they want to give you a pill so you're not being sad. No, you're supposed to be sad.
Yeah, you're supposed to feel it all.
If your best friend just died, you're supposed to feel sad.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
You know, so you don't take something to, no. Be with your sadness.
Yeah.
Walk through it. Have somebody walk through it with you.
You're guiding people in such beautiful, beautiful ways. I know that your book, Life Visioning, is an amazing process of guiding people in this sort of way, putting a structure to visioning for their lives. Can you share anything about the book that might help our viewers understand what they might
This particular piece this is how I started Agape. I actually used the life visioning process to begin Agape. And all of our particular departments in our community have a visioning staff where they meet and actually vision as to what's trying to emerge next. So in this book carries the 4 stages of spiritual growth development that we talked about, visualization being part of stage 2, visioning being part of stage 3. It covers all of that. So it's a lot of material in that book about how to practice it, because individuals can have theory all day long, but unless they actually sit down and do the practice and integrate, it's just going to be memorization, and then that causes stagnation, and that causes spiritual constipation. You know? And so it's a book of how to practice it. And you know, it's been out for a while, but people love it, and it keeps on on selling.
It's a beautiful book, and also you have a new small book out for people.
Yeah, I have a book called Prosperity, Plenitude, and Infinite Possibilities. Just came out a couple of weeks ago. It was a companion piece to an online class that people can sign up for at agapelive.com of the same name. And so you can take the class online, and then you can get the book because it carries other material as well.
Reverend Michael, you are an amazing individual on the planet. It is a great joy to be with you every moment that I get to be with you. When I met you, I instantly knew that you were a brother from beyond.
Absolutely.
And we've had much, much fun dancing in the ethers together over the years. And it is so wonderful to have you here on the Healing Matrix, sharing your infinite wisdom and your huge, huge cosmic heart. Thank you so much. For
Sue
being
Morter,
here.
thank you so much. You're one of my favorite people on the whole planet. You say come, I'm coming. And yeah, we recognized each other from that moment. And
People were trying to get us to meet each other for years.
For
and
years, I know
it's, we sat down and boom.
oh, you're her.
Oh, I get it. I see why.
I talk about you a lot, and you do great work. And I'm glad that we're friends and colleagues, and it's a great part of my life.
Yes, much more to come.
Yeah.
If you are in sickness or in health, we can all apply Reverend Michael's wisdom to our lives. We can detox with forgiveness, heal the heart with gratitude, and awaken to our greatest potential, because the answer is us. I'm Dr. Sue Morter. Thank you for joining us on Healing Matrix.